All right, yeah. I don't know what you're doing with your piercing in your tongue, but we don't need to see that. Want to see it.
No, my bad. I'm at work. My bad.
All right, we don't do my bads here. We just don't do it. All right, so Miss, you need to be out of that bed and you're not dressed appropriately for Zoom. All right, so you're going to have to speak up. Nobody can hear you.
I think it's just what I'm on. But yes, you can hear me.
Yes, slapping somebody who has dementias and Alzheimer's. This is just somebody that somebody just hired off the street and said, hey, you have a high school diploma. You want to receive minimum wage to take care of people that nobody else maybe wants to take care of. And this is where we end.
This woman walked into court today with an attitude that immediately stood out, and not in a good way. She's behind on rent, and not just by a little. We're talking over $4,000 owed. Instead of approaching the situation calmly, she comes invisibly tense, already on edge. It's unclear whether this comes from stress, frustration, or lack of accountability. But from the moment she steps in, you can tell emotions are running high. To make matters worse, she even brought her child along to witness the exchange, which only adds another layer to the situation. You'd expect someone facing something this serious to at least try to remain respectful, but that doesn't seem to be the case here. Let me know in the comments what you think is really behind this behavior. Let's see how it unfolds.
Miss Janisha Walton, if you want to appear on Zoom, you're going to need to have your video and you need to unmute. All right, yeah. I don't know what you're doing with your piercing in your tongue, but we don't need to see that. Want to see it.
No, my bad. I'm at work. My bad.
All right, we don't do my bads here. We just don't do it. So if you want to continue to appear by Zoom, you need to appear appropriately dressed, and nobody wants to see you fiddling with your tongue piercing. All right, you're going to be back on June 2nd. And June 2nd, you can appear by Zoom, but if the court finds that you are not behaving appropriately, Zoom, that will be suspended. All right, thank you. It gets to be like 60. Oh my gosh, it's too cold. All right, so Miss, you need to be out of that bed and you're not dressed appropriately for Zoom. All right, you need to put on a jacket or something, Miss.
We'll get that.
All right, Miss, you need to put on a jacket or something.
Oh, okay. You want me to call her and tell her?
Yes.
I'll text her.
All right, thank you. And I just sent her a chat.
Okay.
So if you just step to the side and I'll call you right back. And is this going to be an agreement or jury trial?
It's going to be an agreement, ma'am.
All right, so if you all will get the paperwork ready.
I have several courts to be in today. Could we do this on another day? I mean, I've got.
I mean, we're here, she's here.
Okay, and we can do it via, I believe she's in Chicago, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken, at least Illinois.
All right,
That's
so.
fine. I can text you when the paperwork's ready.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to put you in the waiting room and they'll get the paperwork sent to you. Ms. Ferguson will need your email and her email. All right, thank you.
Yes, Judge, we went through the paperwork earlier, so she's all set.
No, she needs to be sworn in.
Okay.
And if you go in that breakout room, the clerk will let you know if they have all the paperwork or if there's some issue.
Okay.
Please do not leave the room until someone requests you leave the room.
I know I'm trying to get back and join that room, but I don't know how to get back in.
Another room so it could pop up on your screen. And it's now room number 2. And are you Miss Walton? You need to unmute.
Yes.
All right, Miss Walton, you have a right to appear in person.
It's unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes. Are you able to hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right, Miss Walton, you have a right to appear in person in court, but I am in receipt of a consent to plead by video conference. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it and electronically sign it?
Yes.
Did you review the application for deferred adjudication with your attorney? Did you understand it and did you electronically sign it?
Yeah.
All right, so you're going to have to speak up. Nobody can hear you.
I think it's just what I'm on. But yes. You can hear me?
Yes. Did you review the true bill of indictment? You're saying yes?
Yes, I did.
All right, did you review that with your attorney?
Yes.
Did you understand it?
Yes, I did.
Did you understand you're charged with intentionally or knowingly committing bodily injury against a child, elderly, or disabled person at a state facility?
Yes.
That's a second-degree felony. Range of punishment is anywhere from 2 to 20 years in prison and up to $10,000 fine. According to the plea, punishment is to be assessed at $1,500 fine. State recommends deferred adjudication. There's to be no contact with the complainant, the anger management course, and you're prohibited from practicing as a nurse in the state of Texas. Did you understand that to be the plea?
Yes.
Defense, is that the plea?
Yes, it is.
Outside the agreement, the state is requesting that your community supervision be for a term of 3 years and there be 120 hours of community service restitution. Did you understand those are recommendations from the state and the court does not have to follow those recommendations?
Yes.
Then to the offenses charged, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest? All right, anything you wish to say on behalf of your client?
My client is in Chicago. She understands, she should not have slapped this individual. She does accept responsibility for it. She would just like to move on and be able to work and complete her probation without any problem.
At this point, it honestly feels like she might be setting a record for interruptions in a single hearing. You can see it on Judge Simpson's face. That brief pause, the deep breath, the kind that says a line has been crossed yet again. What's surprising is that she doesn't seem to recognize how her behavior is coming across. It takes a certain level of confidence to stop paying rent for months, build up thousands in debt, and then walk into court acting like the judge is a problem. Telling a judge that is pissing you off while standing at the bench is definitely not a strategy that works in your favor. At that moment, the situation starts to shift. It's no longer just about unpaid rent. It becomes about conduct, respect, and how someone carries themselves in a courtroom. Of course, life happens. People face setbacks, lose jobs, and deal with financial pressure. That part is real. But bringing that level of frustration into a courtroom only makes things worse. And if you're already in a difficult position, the last thing you want is to escalate it further, especially into something like contempt. To be fair, Judge Simpson shows a lot of restraint here. He could have responded much more harshly after that outburst, and it likely would have been justified. But instead, he stays composed. Now the question is, does she recognize that and adjust her approach? Or does she continue making things harder for herself? Let's jump back in and find out.
All right, so how much training does she have in the field? Is she a licensed nurse or is she a person that somebody hires and says, hey, we need somebody to come in as a caregiver?
She will have to answer that one.
All right, are you a licensed nurse?
No, I'm working towards getting my CNA.
All right, so this is a situation where somebody just hired you to come in and work in a facility.
I'm a caregiver.
All right, so what's your level of education to be a caregiver?
I finished high school. I completed high school.
All right. See, this is what I mean. Everybody's just letting everybody be a caregiver. And the problem is that being a caregiver for somebody, I think that's sort of like a calling. You have to have said, you know what, I'm going into that field because you're dealing with people who have dementia, Alzheimer's, people who can't take care of themselves, people who need somebody to bathe them. The patient gets upset because they're not doing what they're allowed to do anymore. They can't communicate because they have dementia and Alzheimer's. Then everybody and their mothers just hiring random people, paying them minimum wage or less than. And then we end up here with somebody slapping somebody who has dementias and Alzheimer's. So I know y'all say she's prohibited from practicing as a nurse in the state of Texas. Okay, but she's not a nurse. She's not licensed to be a nurse. This is just somebody that somebody just hired off the street and said, hey, you have a high school diploma. You want to receive minimum wage to take care of people that nobody else maybe wants to take care of. And this is where we end up. And what was the name of this facility? Let me see. Chapters Living of San Antonio. All right. This is what the court is going to do. Does anybody want to speak to length of probation. The state is asking for 3 years. All right, court is going to sentence you to 5 years deferred adjudication. There's a $1,500 fine. There is to be proof of employment within 30 days. There's to be no employment as a home health care provider, no employment with working with minors, no employment with working with people who are disabled. There's to be no practicing as a nurse in Texas or anywhere else. So I'm just going to say no practicing as a nurse. There's to be regular reporting by Zoom or in person. There's to be regular random UAs, 120 hours of community service restitution. The $1,500 fine will be probated. There's to be anger management. I'm ordering anger management because you all agreed to it, but it just appears that you were a person who should never have been working with someone in any type of facility or young children or people who have mental health issues. That's just not a field for you. Good luck to you. Don't take any more of these positions that requires you to have patience and that requires you to be with someone who has dementia, Alzheimer's, they're elderly, they need somebody to be kind and patient with them. You should work in those positions. Do you understand?
Yes.
And I do fault the company that hired you as well.
You really have to give Judge Simpson credit here. He knows how to maintain control of his courtroom without letting emotions take over. That kind of composure isn't easy, especially when someone is clearly frustrated and pushing boundaries. What's even more surprising is that he actually seems to be trying to help and navigate the situation, despite everything that happened. Not everyone would show that level of patience. In fact, some might have taken a much stricter approach just to reinforce the seriousness of the situation. Realistically, though, there's still a strong chance that the balance won't be paid, and that's what makes this whole situation feel like a clear example of how entitlement can play out in court. Throughout the hearing, she dismisses staff, interrupts repeatedly, and acts as though her time is the only time that matters. Some of that behavior may come from upbringing or past experiences, but at the end of the day, personal responsibility still matters. Respect in a courtroom goes both ways, and unfortunately, very little of it is shown here. Let me know in the comments. Do you think this was just stress boiling over, or is this likely how she handles situations in general? And as always, thank you for watching. I truly appreciate the support. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow.